Booknerds. Welcome to the Booknerds podcast. We are really excited today because we have with us a debut author, but he's much more than that. Welcome, first of all, to the podcast, Samir Soni. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Great. So, for those of you who don't watch movies or don't consume any sort of multimedia content, I would like to tell you that Samir Soni is an award-winning film, television, and theater actor. I wasn't aware about that you have done a lot of theater as well. Yeah, he was born, of course, in Delhi, born and raised in Delhi. After finishing his school from St. Xavier's High School in Delhi, he moved to LA, where he pursued business economics. And if you read the book, go on to read the book which he has written. I'll show you the cover right away. But so he spent a little time there, worked as a financial analyst on Wall Street in Merrill Lynch. Again, a fact that I was not aware about, and I'm pretty sure that many others wouldn't, know, because we have always, noticed you on the screen. So it is quite fantastic to know. Then, of course, Samir took a plunge and went into acting and did an awesome job with some hiccups, which come with the territory. But and of course, you have directed a movie as well and written and directed a critically acclaimed movie. It's called My Birthday Song. If I'm not wrong, this came out like a couple of years back or during the pandemic.
Just before.
Just before, right? And it went on Netflix, and it's a
Yes.
psychological thriller. I'm very sad that I haven't watched it yet, but I have to watch it. Of course, we are here to talk about this book which he has written. It's called My Experiments with Silence, the Diary of an Introvert. And it is such, I would say it's such an oxymoron, because you are an actor and you are writing a book about, about an introvert. And it's surprising, to be honest. It's happily surprising, because you have kind of come out with this. Of course, the cliche questions will come later, but I really want to ask you, writing, of course, it's like a journal, right? This book, you have been writing this for a while now.
Major portion of it is his diary.
Yeah. So why the idea of kind of, putting it all together and perhaps in a book? Can you tell us more?
Yeah, look, firstly, as far as, being in the show business or being an actor, director or whatever, and being an introvert might surprise a lot of people. But if you were to just scrape the surface, you would find a lot of people in the industry, in the business are, introverts, really. And especially overseas, it happens in Hollywood a lot, because to be able to perform, to able to create, you have to be an extremely sensitive person, right? And introverts by nature tend to be very, very sensitive. So the introverts tend to be very sensitive. And in a way, it's also therapeutic, and it's catharsis that you can express your emotions through the characters you play. That's what drew me towards acting. So it's not, it's like a gift and a curse, because you're supposed to have very fine skin to be able to emote and be sensitive. But to survive the environment, you have to have really thick skin, because you're constantly this. So anyway, coming back to the book, I'd been writing. I enjoy writing, and there was a phase in my life when I was going through some kind of personal and professional crises. And I was kind of very disturbed mentally, and I was like, something is not right, And I didn't want to reach out to my friends and family as much, because friends and family can help you only so much. If you have, because honestly, not to blame them, because only you know what you go through. Nobody else does, right? Nobody has the time or the understanding. And the best they can have to offer is, oh, come on, you're thinking too much. Don't think too much. Get over it. Let's go. Let's have a drink, right? That's the best they can do, right? So it's as if like we are a bunch of fools. We didn't know that. Oh, really? That can help me. I didn't know that. So I and I've been reading a lot, and I was like, I don't read fiction. And almost pretty much any book I was reading, there was this word silence that was coming up everywhere. And I was like, what the hell is this all about? What's the big deal? So I said, okay, as an experiment, I'm going to start keeping quiet, okay, for a certain amount of time in the morning and in the evening. So I literally would, put the clock in front of me and stare at it and resist any urge to pick up the phone, TV, magazine, nothing, just stare. And that half an hour felt like a couple of hours in the beginning. And then, I started kind of seeing something happening. And then I extended that. And then I pretty much stopped socializing completely. And I said my only outlet would be to write. And write down what I was experiencing, what I was thinking, what thoughts were coming. And my mind took me to places where I didn't even know that I'd been. I'm like, oh, really? Because, the thing is that the problem with the mind is that the mind's job is to protect you, right? So it keeps throwing these thoughts at you, and it's also it's a sort of a struggle to tell that your mind is not you, and your mind is just a part of you, and you need to kind of get that right. So that's how the journey started, and I kind of was a catharsis. Couple of years went down in that. Then I wrote that. I just kept it aside. It was purely meant for myself. It wasn't meant for anyone else.
Right.
Then in between, someone approached me for some writing memoirs or something, and I was like, no, look, I have something, but that's too personal. And then over 10 years passed, and then COVID hit.
Right.
And then I started observing what was happening around us. The anxieties and the depressions, and people talking more and more about it, and the suicides and stuff. And I thought, look, this is something that we need to talk about. And as luck would have it, someone approached me for our memoirs, and I said, look, I've written this, which I feel will relate to a lot of people, and this has a place in the literary world right now, because very often you have people talking about what happened to them, but they don't keep an account of at that point in time. And as you know, memory glosses things over.
I know, totally.
So I presented this, and they loved it, and they said, oh wow, this is so raw, but we need to give it a book form. So I wrote more to kind of give it more comprehensive thing, and now we have a book.
Wonderful. I mean, I was to be honest, and I was telling you this earlier as well, it was quite close to home, because a lot of introverts go through a lot, but it's not exactly a mental health issue, perhaps, because it is just how we
are.
It's
a personality trait. It's a personality trait. It's a personality.
And people sometimes, kind of confuse it with perhaps we are struggling with different, problems. Perhaps there is.
No. I'll go to that far, that because of your introversion in this extroverted society can lead to mental health issues. Right? If you're constantly made feel that you're inadequate, you don't belong, right? That you have to be a certain way, but you don't really feel that way, then you start thinking there's something wrong with me.
Right.
Which eventually might lead to some kind of, not disorder, but an imbalance or whatever it is. So, because we live in a very funny world, and it's people are stressed out, and when they come home and they'll make 2 pegs of whiskey, and that's totally normal. That is acceptable, right? But if you, God forbid, if you want to talk about something and you go to see a professional help like a counselor or a psychologist, my God, something is wrong with you. So it's okay to numb your brain by having alcohol, than to actually go and seek, answers and clarity. So this is a society, and you can't blame India, because we are still kind of a growing economy country. So here, majority of people are just trying to make their ends meet, right? So if a rickshawala's son says, "Papa, I'm feeling anxious," he's gonna say, "Go to hell. I need to make a living. You shut up and go." So
Shubhra is saying that, but he Samir says that he has had a crisis, then it's a mental health issue. She's commenting on.
Fair enough. I mean, I was going through an issue in terms of I was unable to deal with things. There were certain things that happened. My first film release, and I had a divorce that I had to go through, which threw me off. So I don't know if that qualifies as mental health. If it does, I'm ashamed or embarrassed about it. Fine.
Yeah.
I did see a counselor for extended period of time to discover myself. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. If someone deems to kind of say that, so yeah, okay, fine.
So on page 48, I really wanted to read this a little bit, and so that people get a taste of what you have done here. And it's also a quirk. It's a serious sort of take on the Diary of Wimpy Kid series as well, because I'm a fan of that also. It's like that, but it's in a different sense. The treatment is also a little bit like that, and I love that about the book. Um, on page 48, you say that lying all alone with my thoughts. It's unseasonably cold, but I'm warm. The evening is setting in, the table lamp is on, and I'm lost. Things are building up. Don't know how long the dam will hold before the waters break loose. It's getting increasingly difficult to write. Fear of interpretations and writing for someone other than myself make it seem all too pretentious. So this part, I mean, you are talking about the struggle of kind of, writing this, and it's very meta. So I really wanted to ask you, what's happening here?
See, look, obviously I was dealing with a lot of things and being a part of this. This is written over a period of time. And also you live in a business or the industry where the highs are very high and the lows are very low. So you might have a film releasing around the corner and you got your hopes all bent on that. Or you might have auditioned for something and you're just sitting and waiting, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And those are trying times, right? And then also when you're writing, you kind of question your motivation sometimes. That am I selling myself out? Am I, just feeling sorry for myself? So this is the kind of, like I said, I was just writing whatever the thought was coming in my mind at that point in time. So I'm dealing with how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and then also questioning the act of actually writing it down.
Right.
So why are you doing this? So that's basically it, really.
But unknowingly, I would say that unknowingly you have kind of by coming out with this book, because you could have easily not done it. I mean, you didn't have any pressure of doing it.
Yeah, I had no. That's what I'm saying. That's what I kind of liked about it, because it wasn't pretentious and wasn't meant to convince someone or perceive me in one way or the other.
Yeah. So someone was asking me that. What is the scoop in the book? Usually, memoirs come with scoops. I mean, it's very common, and I have read a bunch of them over the past 5 years. So I told them that there is not a single mention. There are no names. This is so personal. There are no exterior names at all. And it's still engaging the book. So answering you, whoever asked. So I'm answering you.
I'll answer that question very simply. That as far as I'm concerned, you don't see my face on it, right?
Oh yes, totally.
So I did not want it to be another film personality stroking their own ego by saying, "Oh, I went through this, and then the first film came around, and I overcome this and this and that." No, the idea is for me to share with you what I experienced, and hoping that triggers something, a thought process in you. It's the diary of an introvert. The introvert happens to be an actor, yes, but I'm not selling it with my face on it and saying it's my, whatever. It's nothing like that. It's full of prose and poetry. I mean, you don't really have memoirs with prose and poetry, so
I know. Of course, I wanted to mention that. Of course, a little bit later. Although this question was not on the menu, I just thought that I should ask you: have you read a hagiography or autobiography and kind of have had to kind of give feedback? Have you read an autobiography?
I love reading autobiographies. I love reading biographies or autobiographies. In fact, I prefer that to any fictional book. I've read more autobiography or biographies because I'm fascinated by what makes a person who he or she is, and it's very interesting to know. And so I've read more biographies or autobiographies than fiction. I mean, some of the ones I love is Andre Agassi's biography, like incredible. I've read biography and stuff. Like I said, it wasn't meant to be that. It was just something I had written, I shared. And given the circumstances of COVID, I thought there was a place for it. And the publishers thought the same. And Then they dug deeper and said, how about this and how about this? So I kind of made some recalls of my growing up childhood, but also not really to tell a story, but also to kind of equate to what's happening and what I am. So it's pretty, I've kept, in fact, most of the pieces. If whoever buys this, if they buy it,
Of course, they will, and they should.
I hope they do. But the thing is that there literally are pages and diaries and dates that this pretty much happened. And I didn't give a context to what was going on, because then you would start thinking, what was he going through, right? Then the focus would shift on me. Right. And you would go back into my career, my life, and try to figure out what was going on. But the idea is to focus on that thought and emotion and see if it sparks something in you. So that was intentionally, I did not want to do that.
Perfect. I really wanted to show the structure, how you have written it, because, I mean, on the surface, it might look simple, but I mean, it's a way of kind of, making it authentic. So this is how there are chapters in between, and then, it's like a journal sort of way. I hope they can see it. So it's written like that. And of course, here, and before that, let's answer this question perhaps. Bala is saying that being an introvert and having a mental health issue is all the more difficult because people will say he's always like this, subdued. So he's kind of referring to perhaps being reserved and a little bit.
Look, okay, let's be careful about mental health. Okay, being reserved, being shy, being introvert is not a mental health issue. Okay, if you treat it a particular way, if you perceive it a certain way, the thing is that we live in an extroverted world, right? Where things are like thrown at you that this is the way to be. And when you think you're not like that and you're different, for example, if you go to a party and everybody's having a great time and you're like, what the hell am I doing here, man? Then that makes you wonder what's wrong with me. But I'm here to say there is nothing wrong with you. That's you. We live in a spectrum of extreme introversion, extreme extroversion, and the world happens to be run by most extroverted people simply because they talk, because they say. People, I mean, there are people like us who are like probably introvert like me, very rarely will come out and say, oh, I'm an introvert and this happened, right? I've done it and I feel strongly because I've struggled with it. And I, for the longest time, thought there was something wrong with me. Right. Until I started questioning myself, and then I started reading a lot of like great books on introversion. And then I realized this is just different. To me, to go to a function, to go to a party, and a lot of people, when you come back home, you get drained. You're like, oh my God, it was a long evening, right? But people who are extroverted would go and come back home charged and say, yeah, that was fun. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to do this. Yes. So there's two different parts of the spectrum. But to consider this as a mental health issue, no, it's not inherently by itself a mental health issue. You might make it a mental health issue by thinking there's something wrong with you. Yeah. And that's why this book exists right now. Because it needs to be put down, because you have especially social networks, you have little kids posing in front of a Rolls Royce or this fancy car. So people are growing up thinking that I need to be like that. And when you don't really feel it, that's where the anxiety comes in, right? The anxiety the anxiety is about trying to be what you're not. Yeah. That's the anxiety. So the idea to own up and say, this is me. I'm okay with it. I don't think that makes me any less than anybody else. Right. So that's that, So so I think you have to be careful when you talk about mental health. Yeah. Introversion is not a disorder. Okay, it's not a disorder. For example, it's as much a disorder if you take an extrovert and put him in a room full of introverts.
Oh yes.
He's like that. Nobody's talking. Why are they in the corner? What are they talking about? Why are they talking about physics and this? I want to know what happened about that particular thing. Who did what to whom? I need facts. I need gossip. He'll go nuts and he's going to think that he has got mental health problems.
We should do that. We should do that. There should be a community like that.
I'm telling you. That's the way it is. It's just that because we live in an extroverted world, we feel there's something wrong with us, which is not true. Don't you?
Abhin is asking, don't you think that silence has a voice of its own?
Okay. Well, it's a very profound thing to say. Of course, I mean, silence does speak for itself. Of course, and I'm not even saying you should not be silent or it's or silence is mute. I'm just saying that, in fact, I totally agree with you. And to me, silence, especially to an introvert, and I can't generalize for everyone, at least to me, it opened more things to me, more information about myself than anything else. Yeah, but what you're saying is extremely profound and sounds really nice. But yeah, I second that.
Yeah, and in a chapter, it's called God and I. You have kind of told us about your relationship with God, which is a lot of us are on the fence, or perhaps are not so sure about the existence. And you've also, I mean, of course, I won't give all the details, but because people need to buy the book. But at the end of the chapter, you have written a short little piece. In God I trust, to him I surrender, his will shall be done in this life or the other. And you sign off with this. But tell us more about, I mean, of course, people get very, kind of touchy about this, but what is your relationship, like current status? What is your current status? And what is
my status is very, very, I don't think it has really changed too much. To me, is I can't say for sure that God exists.
Yeah.
And likewise, I can't say for sure that God doesn't exist. Okay. I don't know. I haven't seen him. I don't know. Maybe I felt something. Someone can say, oh, that's just you feeling something. So either way, I don't know. But I choose to believe that he does exist because it makes my life easier. Very honestly. It's just something as simple as that. When I say I believe God exists, to me, God stands for karma.
Yeah.
Although there is no real reason to believe that if you're good, good things will happen to you. If you're truly cynical, you say, well, there is no logical reason. Right?
True.
But when you live in this world where everything is a variable which is changing so drastically, one person who might be nice to you today is not so nice to you tomorrow. Or the way life looks at you, or how you see life of today can drastically change, like with the COVID thing, and everything goes out of the window. Right? True. You need to hang on to something.
Yes.
All right. To give you that anchoredness. That is for me. I'm not saying everyone should. If you don't want to believe in God, I'm okay with that. You want to believe in God, and you want God to have a face, shape, good for you. That I'm okay with that. To me, this is what it stands for. To me, my definition becomes, this is an example I give, is that if I was to ask you, walk across a plank that is 6 feet long and say 3 feet wide, you would probably hop, skip, and jump. But if I put that plank between two towers and say do the same, you'd probably fall. Although it's still the same plank. But if I blindfold you and say it's on the ground floor, you'll hop, skip, and jump. So I choose to take that route. It gives me that faith and confidence, which could be totally misplaced. I totally agree with that.
True. You say on page 104 that being alone is beautiful and peaceful, which I was like, if I would just stop there, it would. But it also feels nice to be desired, loved, appreciated, and recognized. I mean, this is tough. I mean, because, it's always, a lot of, perhaps there would be introverts in the comment section. They would agree with me that, of course, being alone is sometimes, so liberating. And, but at the same time, you need the attention sometimes. So how do you kind of do the balancing act?
That's the tough part. That is what I still struggle with. That's the struggle. That is the struggle, and which stems from your childhood more often than not. Okay, the word is what is the word that I use? Is it just some acceptance? Deep down, not everyone. A lot of us do feel that acceptance and acknowledgement of your presence, that you are something, or you're not incomplete by yourself. Okay, that you need. All right. And maybe that is also the need for you to be in silence, because there's nobody judging you there other than yourself, who's your biggest, critic anyway. So both things coexist, and I think the problem stems. So there's one problem of acceptance, which in that poem that I wrote, The Little Boy.
Yes.
It's probably my favorite one. That in the end, it's all about acceptance. Who doesn't want to be liked and loved, whether you're alone or not? Right? It's not like an introvert would go out and people are saying, oh, you're so good. And you say, oh, God, I hate this. You'd probably get a little embarrassed and say, yeah, okay, fine, thanks, because you're not used to it. But nobody dislikes being accepted and loved. That's a universal thing.
Yeah.
But you find your peace more in the silence is because you know you will not be judged. A.
Yeah.
B. Being an introvert, you're far more sensitive to energies.
Right.
You, as an introvert, by and large, you're an empath.
Yeah.
So somebody might not even say anything, just the way he looks at you or something, you can sense it.
Yeah.
So therefore, when you go out in a social gathering, it gets that much tiring because a person's talking to you and saying, oh, I did this and I did this and I did this. And you know that all he's really doing is trying to make himself feel good about himself. He doesn't want to hear anything from you. He's just talking. So you kind of go, yeah, really, you're so good. You're really nice, But in the end, that poor chap is looking for acceptance.
Right.
Right? So at least when you're on your own, you don't have to be empathetic to anybody else. Right. That's just relaxing, I claim that human beings are the most faulted species. It's a very cynical way of looking at life, but I think it's true to some extent. So we prefer our silence and our quietness. There's no intervention coming from outside, no excess stimuli to mess up with your brain. So that's it. It's introvert. Go on, sorry.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the book. Of course, in the past sort of 6-7 odd years, read a lot of books, but nothing on this subject. And this was like, it gave me confidence that, okay, there are more people out there like me, and they are kind of, and especially because you are in the spotlight all the time, so it is more encouraging. We can exist. So it is just that.
There is no other way. There is no other way but to own up to who you are and take pride in that.
Yeah.
There is no other way because people will walk all over you.
Yeah.
If you have, I always say, I'm sorry, I'm kind of going in a tangent, but to me, it is because everyone, and it's very interesting that I notice when I go to a party and everybody's trying their level best to be noticed. And you're sitting in a corner having a little drink, and chances are you're getting more notice than they are. But if you were to try to behave like them, you look like an idiot.
Right.
Because you're not being who you are. If you're true to yourself, saying, hey, man, I have nothing to add to your conversation, man. Hey, you want to talk about whatever and, whatever's going up and down or whatever, I'm okay. I'll just have a drink and just observe you guys and see what's happening.
Yeah.
And trust me, no, I have only got respect.
Yeah.
Just because I don't try to be anything other than what I am. Or it has taken me time. There might have been times that I'm trying to make an extra conversation. Then I said, what an idiot am I? What am I trying to say, man? So I have a script, right? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Long time no see. Wow, you lost weight, huh? What diet are you on? Really looking good. End of conversation. That's it. Wow. Now I don't even bother. Now I got my drink and I'm like,
oh goodness. This is like sorry about that.
No, anyways. But you gotta own up. You gotta own up. And to me, the show that you were referring to was that I opened up that everyone says, man, I know how you feel. Yeah. Because I've been to functions and social gatherings that a lot of people are there and they're there looking at the watches saying, what time are you leaving and what time you're leaving? They don't really want to be there.
Right. Yeah.
So, I think that's the biggie is like, I was invited by a friend who's a producer for a party.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I don't really feel like going out. Honestly, I'm in my boxes by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right. That's my day is over. Let's see what's on the news. We want to read something. What's on the iPad? 8 o'clock is fine. Now the party starts at 10:30.
Oh wow.
Okay, that's the next morning for me, as far as I'm concerned. Right. And now I'm thinking of all kind of excuses to give why I can't make it to the party.
I know.
Right now I'm stressing out, and there's a part of me saying, "You chicken." You coward. What are you so scared of?
Yeah.
Right? What you're lying because you're scared of telling the truth.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I just messaged him and said, listen, man, I'm not up to it.
Awesome. It's so simple.
My friends now, I never take phone calls. I'm gonna miss. At the end of the day, I might look at all the missed calls I've gotten and say, okay, fine, maybe send a text back and stuff.
Awesome.
But now what happens if you're consistent and people accept you? So now my friends call me up and say, look, just if you're alive, that's all. Otherwise, go back. Go back to your bat cave. That's what they call it.
I know. And a final question before we kind of close this session. I got a little emotional there because it is so it has happened with me a number of times. Climbing the mountain. You in climbing the mountain, this chapter is so existential. I was getting jittery only just reading it. So you left everything, came and kind of went into acting, of course, and then this turmoil of whether do you belong or how do you kind of fit in, because it is not easy. You're addressing it all here, which is quite interesting, and for a lot of artists perhaps it could be relevant. uh, of course you have addressed this, that how do you fit in. You have also mentioned that being an actor you have to be in the spotlight, and so would you like to say something about this?
I mean, I'm not sure exactly what specifics, but I think it's very important to be honest with yourself. For example, I mean, I tend to be very objective. I mean, I was writing today, in fact, it's just, I was thinking, okay, I feel like writing. So I was writing. And I said to myself, I found myself writing that I'm like that rocket that never took off. The rocket budged, a rocket budged a foot or two, but it never reached the stratosphere it was promised to. Maybe being a rocket with all the scraps of iron itself, the greatest achievement. And not all rockets are meant to fly. So you have, so you have to be objective, because I came into the industry like anybody else, being the best of the best, right? You trying to accept or not? Do I regret it? No. Did I give my best? Yes, I did. And life goes on. So the average, the mountain thing is, I've always seen my life as that. As I don't know if you're referring to the same passage. It's like you're climbing the mountain. You take one step at a time. So you take one step at a time. You're just looking ahead, and you're climbing it just because you thought it was a good idea. Sometimes a good day, sometimes they're bad. You sit on the side of the mountain. You look down at the valley, warm houses with the smoke coming up, and you say, "What the hell am I doing here?" Then the next morning comes, and you take the next step. And that's how I choose to define myself. And now it's even more important that this is a big question I want to leave whoever's watching or listen, is that, is your life or is your dream really your dream that you're living? Or is it the dream that you were sold?
True.
Is it that you were climbing Mount Everest just because everyone around you told you climbing Mount Everest was the best thing to do, and you spent your entire life climbing the Mount Everest, and when you climbed up, everyone downstairs clapped, and you said, "Shit, I hate the view from here."
Yes.
So
truly a great thought to leave everyone with. Also, have any of your friends read the book? Of course, I wanted to show the cover. Guys, go check it out on Amazon or an independent bookstore around you.
On Kindle as well. It's on Kindle as well.
Of course. Kindle also. For those of you who love Kindle, I mean, I don't, but it's
hard.
Grab a copy from Amazon. Leave a review there, because I'm sure Samir would love to read some honest reviews. Don't flatter him too much, because we want so many better books coming out. But give an honest opinion. Whatever you feel, that is much more helpful rather than just flattery. So don't do that, Samir. So what was I asking? Goodness. No, I was saying that, have any of your friends
it's funny, my brothers and all, they received the book today, and they said in a group chat, "We got the book." And my question to back was, who's going to be the first one to read? I don't think so I don't even think my wife has read it completely as yet, because it's so raw. They'd be like, "Okay, fine, man. This guy's talking too much about how he's feeling." Because this can make you uncomfortable, right?
I know. That's why this question, I never ask this question to anyone, because this book is so personal. it can, ruffle people. I mean, even if my friends watch this session, they would be like, why was he getting emotional? Why? What the heck? I mean, he's so confident on podcasts and all. What's the trouble? So,
I'll read
that's
it.
why I asked.
No,
I guess how to
there are a lot of people who kind of, but by and large, everyone, this one reaction I get, like a friend of mine called me up and said, look, I hate you because you made me cry. And she says, it reminded me of my childhood.
Yeah.
Which is good. And a lot of them are surprised because a lot of them are expecting memoirs, which is,
I know. Because
just
the trend. It's the trend.
Yeah, I mean, and I had to actually fight with the publisher and everything. I said, I don't want my face on it. Even my wife was saying, hey, man, it's your book. You got to put your face. I said, no, it's not supposed to be that. I wanted to have longevity because I think it is something that deals with something so basic.
Yeah.
That I see it more as a self-help book as opposed to a memoirs. That's closer to that.
It is completely that. It is completely that. And I hope you keep on kind of, scratching under the surface and, kind of helping people out. You don't have a voice.
But I want to start this movement. Honest to God, wherever I go, I've been talking about this whole thing of introversion because I'm sick and tired of the extroverted barometer used to judge how good or bad we are. I'm quite fed up of that. And I think the time is right because the next generation is going to be destroyed because, they'll be doing TikToks to things they don't even know what they're doing TikTok to. Which is I mean, it's good for you, fine, if you like it, very good. But we don't want to set that as the only way. There has to be some other ways.
I know. Awesome. Great talking to you. And this is one of the most intimate conversations I've ever had on the podcast, to be honest. And I'm not just saying it. It is the book as well as this conversation are so honest. I wish that you were not so honest sometimes, but
I have the book. Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
If you can find the little boy, the poem, I don't even know which page that is on.
Awesome. Yeah.
Why don't you read it out? So they'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'll read it. Or you want to read it? You want to do the?
Yeah, you should read it. I've already read so much.
Right. All of you who think that what's the gossip, this is the goss in the book.
Yes.
This is entry number next to 103. That's the little poem, which is called The Little Boy. And this kind of summarizes a lot of things. I say, I'm a liar, I'm a cheat, I'm nothing like what you meet. I'm whatever you're not. If you're yin, then I'm yang. Yes, I'm good at this and I'm good at that, but that's not where the real me is at. I have a void I'm trying to fill. I spent my entire life and I've come up with nil. A few kind words, acceptance and respect, so the little boy can finally rest and doesn't need me to protect. That's my life.
Brilliant. And I see that a great spoken word artist in you. To be honest, I tell you, you would do incredibly well. It should happen, just pop into a cafe and do it sometime, have fun.
I love beer cans being thrown at me. Get out!
It will be good because it's so personal, this art form is so personal. Thank you so much, Samir. Guys, pick up the book, give Samir feedback on Amazon. You can send your feedback to us as well. And for any other book content, you know where to go. Booknerds on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you so much, Samir. It has been lovely.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, looking forward to so much more.